guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to be doing another last call video for authors. So this is a little video series that I have recently started. This is only my second one, so we're going to see how this one goes. And I will leave a link down to my first one if you haven't seen that one yet, but that is one where I focused on Emily Giffin as an author and made a decision on whether or not I was going to continue reading her books or not. So basically what I'm doing in these videos is I'm choosing an author that I have been a little bit on the fence about whether or not I want to continue reading their books, and they are authors that I own multiple books for, and I want to give them kind of one last shot to impress me before I decide whether or not I'm going to keep their books and read them, or if I'm going to just go ahead and unhaul them. So I take a look at all the books that I own, I pick one that I'm the most interested in reading, I read it, and then from there I decide whether or not I'm going to keep the other books from that author. So basically, if I enjoy the book that I read, then I will keep their books and I'll give them, another shot to continue with their works. If I read that book that I'm most interested in and I do not enjoy it, then I will go ahead and unhaul all of their books that I have without reading them. So for this one, I am going to focus on Jennifer Weiner, and I own 4 physical copies of her books. I believe I have a couple on Kindle as well. I'm going to focus on these though because these are physically taking up room on my shelves. And with the Kindle, all I have to do is delete them and it's no big deal. But these are taking up physical chunks of space on my bookshelves. So for Jennifer, I have read at least 2 of her books. I read Goodnight Nobody when we were living in California. I remember reading it. I remember enjoying it. I thought it was funny and it kind of had a little bit of a twist type thing to it. So I enjoyed that one. And then I also read Fly Away Home, which focused on a family who was kind of going their separate ways, but then they reunited for a certain event or something and things happened from there. I don't remember fully what happened in that book, but I believe I enjoyed it. I gave that one 4 stars. So I did enjoy that one. So for her, I have these 4 physical books that I'm going to be choosing from. Now, the reason I'm unsure about Jennifer is that I believe my reading tastes are really starting to change. I'm really starting to notice that I'm leaning a little bit more away from contemporary. Or if I do read contemporary, I have certain types of contemporaries I enjoy or certain authors of contemporary that I enjoy a little bit more. So I tend to shy away from other ones. And I am nervous about Jennifer Weiner because I'm afraid it's going to be too much fluff for me now based on what I have been enjoying in the more recent years versus what I enjoyed when I was reading her books. We're talking probably at least 10 years ago. So I want to give her another shot because I could read these books and really, really enjoy them. She could be one of my contemporary go-tos still, but I just want to give it a try and see because I'm not sure. So for Jennifer's books, the physical ones that I have are Certain Girls, and this is actually, I believe, a follow-up, or it follows the same character as Goodnight Nobody from what I'm remembering. So yeah. It's been so long though since I read Goodnight Nobody that I don't think that this would read to me as a companion. And I have Best Friends Forever, The Next Best Thing, and Then Came You. So of these 4, the 2 that really caught my eye and caught my attention when I was reading the synopsis for them were Best Friends Forever and Then Came You. This one actually follows a young woman who moves to Los Angeles in hopes of becoming a screenwriter, and she moves with her grandmother to Los Angeles, and one of her TV show scripts gets picked up and it's actually called The Next Best Thing, and so she finds herself kind of thrown into the world of show writing in Hollywood, and it will probably be interesting and funny, I think, but this one really caught my eye a little bit more. This one follows 2 girls who become best friends when they're 9 years old. They lived across the street from each other. And then into their teen years, they're convinced they're going to be best friends forever. But once they hit their teen years, one of the girls falls into the popular crowd while the other girl kind of becomes bullied and she's really just an outcast. And as they grow up, the popular girl actually ends up being the local meteorologist on TV. So she's pretty popular. People know who she is, all that stuff. While the other girl still lives with her mom. She's helping her brother who has some problems, and she's just kind of more of a hermit. And then one day the popular girl shows up on her doorstep and she has blood all over her and she says, something terrible happened. You're the only person who can help me. That sounds really interesting to me. That sounds a little bit more of like you know, some contemporary with some suspense thrown in there, which, you know, is my thing. So I think I'm going to give this one a read and see what I think. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping this works out because I am still kind of interested in this one too. So we'll have to see. Like both of these, it was a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the one that could be more suspenseful and have that element into it, where this one I just think is going to be a funny take on, you know, Hollywood and screenwriting, which I think is still pretty interesting. If I'm going to read a contemporary, it would be something like this. So we're going to have to see, but I'm hoping that I do enjoy this one so I can keep that one too. And the other two I'd probably still maybe take a look at and maybe on haul. There was, I was reading the premise for this one, Then Came You, and even reading the premise was super difficult. It seems like it follows a lot of different characters, and even just reading the synopsis I was getting a little bit lost. So I'm not 100% sure about that one regardless of how this goes. We're gonna have to just see. But this is the one I'm going to read. So I am going to go right now. I'm going to read it, and then I will come back here in just a few minutes and I will let you know what I thought and whether or not I'm going to keep Jennifer Weiner's books, if I'm going to keep maybe just one of them or if I'm going to keep all of them. We're just going to have to see how this reading goes. Okay guys, so I am back and I have finished Best Friends Forever by Jennifer Weiner, and I enjoyed this book, you guys. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I enjoyed it. This one I ended up giving a 3.5 stars to. I couldn't quite give it a 4. There's just something that was keeping me back from giving it a 4 for some reason. I think it's just because I enjoyed the book, but it wasn't anything incredibly memorable. You know, in a couple of years, I'm going to forget what this book is about. But while I was reading it, I did enjoy it. I was interested in the story the whole time. I never lost interest. I really liked the characters. They were pretty good. They were flawed, and I was kind of rooting for all of them at the same time. And I liked the dynamic between them as well. So basically, this follows two best friends who end up growing up together a little bit in like elementary schools when they meet, and then they're best friends for a long time. And then in high school, one of them goes the more popular route and one of them ends up overweight, and she's kind of the target at school for kids who are making fun of her. And so they end up, you know, having a big falling out because of all that. And at their high school reunion, something terrible happens, and the popular girl, her name is Val, she shows up on her former best friend's doorstep, who is Addie, and asked for help because something bad happened at this reunion and she needs her help. So they kind of form their friendship again that way. And I really enjoyed it. And it was a little bit of a mystery, you know, trying to figure out what happened, this whole thing to this person. And, you know, kind of the aftermath of that as well. And I did say this went on a little bit of a Thelma and Louise type thing, but not really, like, not really. So that was a little bit of a stretch when I saw that as being one of the descriptions of it. I was like, no, not really. But I really did like it, and I'm glad I read it. And I am definitely deciding that I do want to continue with Jennifer Weiner. There's going to be a caveat though. I don't mind reading her books, but I don't want to buy them anymore. So I'm not going to be buying them. If I do read anything from her in the future, I'm going to get them from the library. So I'm just not going to worry about that quite so much. And I may not read every single thing that she puts out. So it's probably just going to be, you know, if I'm really interested in the premise of the book. And yeah, so 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. I am giving up on buying her books. I'm not giving up on reading them. So they will definitely, you know, just need to be something I'm in the mood for. And like I said, library. So, but I'm glad I read this one. Okay, so for the books that I have left, I am going to keep The Next Best Thing because this is the other book that I was really interested in when I was considering which book I was going to read for this video. So this was the other one that I was really interested in reading. So I will go ahead and keep this one. And I am going to definitely unhaul Certain Girls because this is actually a companion novel to Good in Bed, which is one of the first books I read by her. And I read that before Kaylin was born, and Kaylin is 9. So I do not remember the first book. I don't want to reread the first book in order to really jump back in with this character. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this one. I'm not really too worried about that. This one doesn't seem super interesting to me. That leaves me with Then Came You. and I don't know if I want to keep this one or not. I kind of do, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it, number one, and I don't know. I'm still struggling. I was trying to think about it before I turned the camera on whether or not I was going to say if I'm going to keep this one or not, and I'm just not sure. This gets decent Goodreads ratings, a lot of 4 stars, more 4 stars than any other star rating, so that's a good sign, I think. And I don't know. I think for now I'm going to hang on to it. And if it gets around, you know, to I've just had it for way too long again and I am just not really interested in reading it at that time, then maybe I can consider it later. But since I did spend the money on it and it is a hardback, then I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep it for now and maybe just revisit it later and see. But so that means I am going to be keeping 2 of her books. And I will be unhauling this one, and since I have read this one and I don't really feel the need to keep it, I would like to pass it on to someone else. I'm going to go ahead and unhaul both of these as well. So these 2 will be in my next in and out video for sure, and I'm going to keep the other 2. So that was interesting. I was kind of thinking about this when I started this series, you know, if it was an author that I decided not to continue with, I was going to unhaul all the books that I have no matter what. But I'm realizing that when I read an author that I do want to keep reading, I do need to kind of look at my inventory, if you will, and see if there's any that I'm okay getting rid of, regardless of whether or not I want to keep reading from that author. You know, I just really have to base it on the individual books at that point. So that'll be interesting. Maybe I'll be, even if I do continue to want to read a certain author, I still may be unhauling books. It would just depend on, you know, what the books are and if I'm interested in them at all. So that was a nice little experiment. All right, so I am not breaking up with Jennifer Weiner. I'm just not going to buy her books anymore, and I'm just going to get them from the library because I really have enjoyed what I've read from her so far, but you know, they're a little bit forgettable, which is fine. You know, sometimes that's exactly what I'm in the mood for. Just something nice and light and, you know, just something I can enjoy at the time. Okay, so that's going to be it for this edition of Last Call. And let me know down below if you guys are a Jennifer Weiner fan, and if you are, what books you've read from her. If you have not read any of her books, would you be interested in reading any of the books that I've talked about, or, you know, anything that has been on your radar? Let me know. All right, I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.